Welcome back to another episode of Allowed to Ask, a First Rounds on Media production. If you're feeling burned out from the endless swiping and dry convos, you're not alone. It's time for something better. First Rounds on Me flips the script. You plan the date before the conversation even starts. That means no back and forth for days, no ghosting, and no time wasting. Just real people ready for real connection. Download First Rounds on Me and use code A2A, capital A, number 2, capital A, for a free subscription, for a free month of their subscription. We are so excited to be chatting with Erica Spera, comedian, dating expert, can I call you?
Sure, yeah.
Maybe. Podcast host, and I'm sure so much more that we don't even know, but thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here. I love the energy between you two.
Flying all the way from LA just for us.
Yes.
Just for us. No, we literally planned this like 4 or 5 months ago?
Yes, I appreciate the planning. You guys are prepared. I love a pod that's prepared. I'm ready to rock.
You were like, do you guys book far in advance? I'm like, do we? Boy, do we.
We love it.
We're the people who are like so type A who like to plan in advance.
Hell yeah.
And I feel like you always like end up with people who like are like opposite of that.
But even in life now, you're trying to be a little more fluffy. I'm so rigid and I wish I wasn't like that. But I have to plan. I'm a planner and I'm always checking through a list.
Who said I'm trying to be fluffy? I'm so
You're trying to be a little
like
fluffy.
Literally anal
But
type
you're trying.
A. Are you type A, type B, or type Z?
I'm the what is it? I just saw actually like a joking, meme about it, and it's like, I'm the type A that is, if nobody else is type A, then I will step in and be the type A in terms of the group. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm the leader if no one else is being the leader.
But
if someone's like, I'm leading this, I'm planning this, I go, great, and I will gladly follow.
Actually, I think that's how I am too. Like when it comes to dinner reservations, if I have like a double date or like a plan with a friend, I am never the one making a reservation ever.
Okay.
So, but if like I know the person we're going out with or I'm going out with won't make the reservation, I'll do it then. But I'm rarely the one to like be the type A in that way.
Yes.
But I'm type A when it comes to making plans.
Yes.
Like I will have a plan booked weeks in advance, but I won't make the plan, if that makes sense. Like I won't make the reservation.
Oh, you won't? That's weird.
Like I'll be like, oh, we have dinner in like 3 weeks, but like you can make the reservation.
Oh, but that's when I was talking about reservations earlier about the summer. It's hard to get reservations, so you have to plan a month in advance.
I'm a type B plus.
Okay,
that's right.
Yeah, it's something. There's some slang to it currently that people are saying.
I'd like to be a D, but I'm not.
No, you could never in your wildest dreams. Okay, so tell us all the things about you, how you got into your career. We love comedians and love comedy in general.
And we love to laugh.
And we love to laugh. It's my favorite hobby ever. So just want to hear more about your background and how you got into that. Like, were you always just funny and were like, wait, I should take this to a stage?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think for a lot of comedians, it's always like a dream of theirs, but everybody has the question, like, how do you get into comedy?
Right.
And to be honest, it always changes. So, like, when I started, it was very, like, you just have to start doing it. You got to get on stage.
When did you start?
I started, it was right after college, so I was 22. And I happened to just move into the city, be living in the city, started working, and I was like, yeah, how do you get into comedy? So I guess being a classic kind of nerd, like Googled stand-up comedy classes, because I didn't know that there's like open mics, and you start doing open mics. So I did a comedy class, which was basically like, a regular open mic with a teacher.
Okay.
And it was all people that have never done it before. And you basically go every week, and then you do like a stand-up comedy show is your like graduation.
Like a little
of the
skit.
class.
What do you learn in a comedy show, like in a comedy class? The teacher like, that's not funny. Like,
no, exactly. It's very encouraging. It's very basically like a very supportive open mic where all of you take your turns trying your like little 5 minutes. So it's you're trying to put together 5 minutes of material. Okay. And they basically encourage you like talk about things from your life, take from your own experiences. They'll be like, that is funny. Maybe elaborate on that, or they'll try to like help give you lines and kind of find your voice. Comedians are trying to find their voice for 10 years. Right. So they're just trying to get you comfortable enough of that 5 minutes and try to find where are the punchlines, where are the jokes going to hit, and get you comfortable being on a stage.
Do most people who go into a comedy class, like, do they already have the comfortability of being in front of people on a stage, or are most people learning like even how to stand up in front of a stage and not like want to vomit?
Yeah, what's interesting is a lot of people do that comedy class as like kind of a bucket list thing, or like there actually was a mother-daughter duo in there being like, hey, we thought this would be fun to do as like a family, as a once in a lifetime, like let's do it together, kind of conquer a fear.
So hard in there,
but I don't even like reading a speech in front of like my best friends. I can't imagine the thought of getting and I'm comfortable in my skin and I'm chatty. I could not even imagine getting in front of an audience. And
but you didn't want to do this, and
right.
Look at here.
Well, it's not that I didn't want to. It was just a little out of my wheelhouse.
Right. So it's
but when
just
you were working,
through practice.
what were you doing? Were you
I started. I was like an intern first at this like advertising agency, and they did like real estate advertising. So then they kind of part-time hired me. So I was actually hustling like 3 jobs at the time. I did that. I worked retail and express. And then I was like a hostess at a steakhouse.
All industries.
Okay. Yeah, just because you're like, all right, I got to make rent. You know, right. I started renting an apartment. I did all 3 of those. Took this comedy class.
Good for you.
And then actually a few people from that class though were very like me, where they just want to do comedy. We did our graduation show, and it's like you got like a taste of blood. Where you were like, no, I love this. I want to do this.
It's probably like an addiction.
Yeah.
You just keep wanting. Like once you make people laugh, you're probably like, fuck yeah.
Exactly. So then I kind of had a couple buddies, which made it even better when I went to just the general public open mics of the city. And then we were trying to find more because those were terrifying. That is all comedians. You're brand new and everybody like smells fresh meat on you because you don't realize everybody knows each other. And it is this community in a way. And it's horrifying that you're taking your little like 5 minutes that, you know, everyone's nice to you in your little class laughing and you go up in front of comedians where they're like
literally the same. I was getting my Pilates certification. I got my Pilates certification, and then it comes to like the auditions where it's like at first like in the training we were doing like a 5-minute sequence, 8, 20, 30, and you're doing it in the same routine that everyone else is doing in front of the 25 other girls. And then it's all of a sudden like, okay, you're teaching a community class, and you audition in front of random people, like bye.
Oh, God.
And you are sweating bricks in already 105-degree room. And like you think you're all comfortable until you're doing it in front of strangers. So feel you in a different way.
Right. And then it's like the more you do those things, suddenly you're like, oh, I do know everyone and everyone's faces. Right. And you just realize I was just the new guy.
Right.
And then you see like the new faces that come in and you're like, oh, I remember.
Like, I remember when I was the new.
And it was only like 4 months ago.
Right.
But
wow.
So you just realize like how big it is and how small it is at the same time.
It happens so
But
fast.
you just have to stick with it. It's basically just so much trial and error and failing. But what's interesting is now if someone wants to say like, how do I get into comedy now? I'm like, honestly, I'm like, you want the fastest road to success is be funny on the internet.
Yeah.
But just be funny on the internet in any way you want to. It doesn't even have to be you doing clips of stand-up.
Right. There's so many ways that people could showcase their face now and how they are so funny in their skits just from like sitting in their bed at home.
Yeah, it's almost like stand-ups are now doing it backwards. Where now we're trying to come up with like different ways to be funny, characters, whatever content. Because now people just have to discover you one way and become a fan of you somehow, think you're funny. And then it's like, oh, now they'll come and see me perform stand-up.
Right.
But yeah, through the open mic grind was kind of how I did it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's how I met my co-host of my podcast now, Two Stand-Up Gals. She hosted an open mic and was very friendly, very kind to me. She started like only a couple years before me. And we've just, been friends a long time ever since. So
wow.
Oh, that's great.
Grind, yeah.
So you have a comedy pod.
Yeah, it's mainly comedy focused. We talk about all different sorts of things.
Just make life funny.
Yeah, we have like a few different segments, but usually it's basically just a chatting pod.
You guys are just like spitting jokes back and forth.
A little bit, kind of recounting different things. We have a fun new segment called Confront or Not, because we've basically found out that we are both a little bit confrontational people.
Oh, hi. Nice to meet you, too. Confrontation never scared me. I'm like, oh, you need to talk about something face to face.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
It just naturally has come to us. Yeah. We're like, oh, we tend to be the two people that say something.
Right.
When no one else says something.
It's funny, actually. I didn't used to be like that when I was like early, like young teens. But I went to college, and one of my best friends, Rachel, she like literally one of the first few months of college, I think we were having like a little like catty girl fight about something stupid probably, and next thing you know she storms into my dorm room and she's like, we're talking about this face to face, and I was like, oh fuck. Like I was on my phone trying to fight with her there, and she was 3 floors down. She comes up and she's like, no, we're doing it face to face, we have to. I was like, and ever since then I'm like, face to face is the way you do it.
Yeah, exactly. Never put it in writing,
No, truly.
Right. I've learned that.
Yeah. Really? Why? What'd
no,
you
but
do
I'm
wrong?
just saying it's just easy to put something in writing, but now sometimes when I want to say something, I'm like, nah, I better not like put it out there.
It's also just
not
easier to
gonna go
like
away.
get things like across over the phone. Like even with work, right before I was saying this, like one of our clients was doing something, and I was like, let's just get on the phone with them and like not have like a sassy email chain back and forth. Like let's just get on the phone and talk about it.
Right.
Anyway.
So what's your shtick? Are you like, I know you're funny. Wait, did your friends when you were young, did they think you were funny? Is that why you got into it?
I would say so. I think for me, my number one thing was if there is tension, even in like a confronting scenario, I like to break the tension with a little humor.
Right.
Even if like I did have an issue and I kind of was like, hey, let's talk this out, da-da-da. At the end, it's like, and then you crack a little joke, we have a laugh, and we're over it.
I agree.
Because like the confronting isn't like, I'm right, you're wrong. It's just like, hey, there's an issue, resolve the issue, and then we move on.
Right. And you could also, because I know I can, like I can make fun of myself.
Right. Yeah.
All day, every day.
And I use humor to get through things also.
I saw this thing on TikTok where it's like this new trend. I'm sure you saw it, but it's for couples to get over. Whoa, look, I'm like coughing up. It's for couples to like resolve fights where they put their faces together. Have you seen this? Whereas like if you and your significant other are fighting, you like put your foreheads together and you try to have the argument while like you're literally like cross-eyed to each other, and you immediately start giggling and the fight's over. Like it's just such a good way to like add humor into a fight.
Yeah.
And just resolve it.
I saw a couple that they put on like the like dumb birthday party hats.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one too.
And it's like, try really like having a fight like wearing something ridiculous, and it's like, it just makes it a little lighthearted. Where it's
I've
like,
seen that too.
Laughing is the best though. Like sometimes we
medicine.
crack up. I don't even know why sometimes we're cracking up, but I don't know. It's just such an adrenaline rush. It makes you so happy.
And then you like continue to talk about it like days later.
Yeah.
And also that's what I love about going to comedy shows too, where it's like when a comedian like hits on a joke, like there's a joke that actually my boyfriend went to a comedy show without me, and there's a joke he still talks about, and it's just like that's like the imprint like you guys probably want is like where they're still talking about the joke. He tells it to everyone. I'm not gonna say it's a little bit racist here, but like it was so funny, and like he won't stop talking about it. Anyway.
Well, that's my family. It's like, and I actually just heard Amy Poehler on a podcast like say it perfectly. It was like, in her family or her friends, it's like teasing is a form of love.
Yes.
It's like people you actually know and you know really well, you know exactly where to pinpoint the teasing points on them because it's actually showing you know them so well.
Right.
Where people you don't know, you don't tease. Because it's like, I don't know you well enough to tease you. I don't know if you'd be offended by this. Like, that's a form of flattery. That's like, oh, you're actually a real homie, you're a close person to me, and that's how my family is, where it's like you get your balls busted, that means you're in the gang.
Right.
This is literally reminding me of my relationship, because like literally my boyfriend would be like, we're like trying to have a serious conversation, he's like, I see your mustache. I'm like, and then like that's it, like it's just like because he's so close to my face, like okay, maybe I didn't like dermaplane enough, like
beat it, buddy.
That, like, I literally resonate with so hard. It's like, right, like nitpicking can be annoying, but it's also like a form of love where it's like, right, they know you so well that you might have one fucking hair over your lip. Anyway.
When they know your habits. It's like your therapist where they're like, you know what you're going to do. You're like, no, you don't. I'm not going to do that. You're like, we all know what you're going to do. The whole family knows what you're going to do. You know?
It's like no surprise.
Exactly.
And then you fire your therapist. No, I'm kidding. So what inspired, I know you talk about like a lot of your skits involve dating. How did that come to be? Or did you just find when you were in that comedy class that that's what was resonating and happening in your life at the time?
I mean, not just then. I think one thing that you find that's a little hard, I'd say, is like, so I'm in New York City or LA like majority of my time, right? Other than when I travel and you work the road. And then when you go to more suburban places, it's like people get married younger, and then you're often performing in front of married crowds, people with children. And so something is like, you have to find things that you do relate to people on a broad scale.
Right.
So even when people are married, it's like, okay, the topic of dating/relationships is a broad topic that is universally relatable.
Right.
So it's a topic that just is very relatable to most people. So, and you also have to naturally talk about what's your life? What can you relate to? So the two things that like I talk about a lot in my act probably are family. So it's granted like my perspective of my parents,
right?
But that's people that are married can relate to it. Or if you're my perspective of, you know, you're single, oh, my parents do that if you're around my age. Or like, the dating things, or I can still find relationship-esque things that come from like when I dated someone.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So
do you talk about your dates?
The thing is, it's interesting to stand up because this comes up when you're like on dates with people.
Yeah, they're probably like, don't like her boyfriend. Don't talk about me.
Don't talk about me.
Immediately people will be like, are you going to talk about this? Or even like within a dating app conversation. And the thing that like people don't want to hear is like, why would I talk about you? You're not funny. Yeah. Like, you know, it's what I do is like, it's not storytelling in that way.
Right.
It's not like, oh, I was on a date with this guy. His name is Dan. He works at this place. I'm like, it's so general that only you would know it if I say something that is a quote that you said.
Right.
But only you watching it would know that was from you and that specific date
That's
and
so
inspired
true.
by you. But it's like the joke works because it's universal.
Right.
Right.
You just happen to
And
do
everyone
it and you inspired
relates
me.
to it.
Right.
Right. And maybe there's a specific part that you're like, oh shit, was that from dating me? Was that
Right.
inspired by me? But it's like, if the whole crowd is laughing, it means that happened to everybody.
Right.
Right.
It's
People
a thing
laugh
that
because
men
it's
do.
relatable and they understand it to a certain degree.
Exactly. Like, I have a bit that is about why I think men should be paying for dates.
Let's
Okay.
hear it.
And it's like, so if I did that, like, if I do that joke and there's a guy I went on a date with that split the bill with me, he might go, oh my God, that joke's about me. And it's
Right.
like, first of all, you're not the only man that
Who
ever
made
split
someone
a check with me.
check.
But
Yeah.
not on
Right.
a first date.
I mean, it's happened before.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not frequent, though.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. But it's more like,
that's why
that bit's
it's a
actually
topic of
inspired more by, like,
conversation. Yeah.
chatter online.
Right.
You know, like, a lot of this stuff really is more inspired also by, like, what's a popular discussion online that I see? What are the arguments I see online? Like, it can be inspired by so many different things.
True. How do you like segregate yourself though from other comedians? Because I mean, what you said is a good point. How comedians need to talk about topics that resonate with like all ages. Like right, like splitting the bill. Like whether you're your age or my age, like we understand that to some capacity. So how do you? And I'm sure other comedians are doing the same dating bits and all those things. Like how do you kind of segregate yourself from other comedians?
That is what's really hard because there's been many times, it hasn't happened with me yet, but there's been
Knock
many
on wood.
times in comedy that two comedians will be like, hey, I think you stole my joke.
Right.
And it's like, well, is it joke stealing or sometimes do we just have parallel thinking?
Right.
Right.
And especially now, there's such a demand for uploading your jokes online
Yeah.
and content that it's like, oh, you could very quickly be like, oh, did you see so-and-so's clip? And take it. And a lot of times I'm like, a lot of times you could have a similar premise, different punchline. That's not stealing a joke.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I just, this past week wrote a new joke about the 100 men versus gorilla conversation that's happening. Have you
Okay.
seen this?
No.
Is this in your
No.
algorithm?
I was gonna ask if
So
there
I
is.
literally said that on stage. I'm like, is this in everybody's algorithm?
What is
Half
it?
the crowd says yes, half the crowd says no.
Okay.
Basically, the men are online discussing if 100 men
Oh, I did see
could
that.
beat and take down a silverback gorilla.
I did see that,
apparently.
yeah.
Okay, and I think it's in response to the conversation of women picking between a random man and a bear in the woods. Who would they rather encounter if they were in the
Yeah.
woods? Okay, I don't know. I think.
I think
But
it's a
like men are
bear.
generally debating this, and I
If it's fuzzy.
talked about it on stage because being back in New York, walking around, I watched past 3 different pairs or groups of men discussing this. Where I was like,
that's
oh,
so
I thought this
funny.
was like an online fake thing, and I'm
Yeah.
like, we are actually debating this in the real world.
Yeah.
And my whole point was, I was like, I think I could debunk this really quick because you should just ask women their
Right.
opinion on this because we're the ones who deal with men. And I said, I'm about 6 feet, 190 pounds. And I said, I could count on one hand the amount of men who have been able to toss me around in bed. So the gorilla wins. I was like, I think the gorilla wins. I don't care if it's 100 men. I was like, I
Give
can't
it to the
find.
gorilla.
I'm struggling to find one of you that can handle me.
No,
Like-
literally same. I went over to my brother's apartment and we hugged, and I guess with his ex-girlfriend he used to like pick her up and like crack her back. So he tried to do that to me, and he literally goes, fuck you, Jordan. He goes, whoa, you're like, I'm gonna say his ex-girlfriend's name was like Betty for the sake of this. He's like, whoa, you're like way stockier than Betty. I can't
Yeah.
lift you up. He's like, you're just like fuller. I'm like, one, go fuck yourself, and two, okay, work out, like whatever.
Yeah.
So, like, I was
It's okay.
like, right, definitely bear.
Yeah.
Fair.
And I was like, are men stronger than women? Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, you guys get real cocky.
Yeah.
And then all the time you're like, actually, could you scooch for me? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, you guys always need a little assist in there, you know, which is fine. But I'm like, because you can handle a gorilla. I don't know how
Yeah.
much they weigh, but I know they're strong as shit.
Yeah,
But
you
I'm
can't
like,
even
Yeah.
handle a strong woman.
Yeah.
Right.
How do you handle a joke that gets bombed? Like that just doesn't do well. It doesn't
You
like,
just regroup.
Depends on the situation, really.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I like when comedians, like if no one laughs, like they make fun of themselves for the fact that no one
Yeah.
laughs.
That's usually how you handle it.
Yeah.
I actually just went and saw Nikki Glazer at the Beacon. And at the end, she was trying out a bunch of new jokes, like for her shtick. And then my friend went again and brought her son. And then she used some of the jokes that were well responded by
Yeah.
the audience. So I guess that's how you do it too, right?
You could test out.
Yeah, you do a little test.
Yeah, that's a great, especially someone like Nikki, when you're really, really busy, or you just, we say like work the road when you're doing all those like headlining in a row.
Yeah.
I opened for a comedian, Joe Mackey, great comic, and I was very impressed. It was like 6 shows. So it's like 1 Thursday, 2 whatever, all weekend. And he at the end of his set would be like, oh, do you mind if I like work on some new stuff? And they're like, yeah. And he did that exact same thing. And I took note of that because I was like, oh, that's so smart because it helps you like write a new hour while you're performing every weekend. And the ones that worked, he would just put it in. But I was mainly impressed when they remember it.
Right.
Because it would be in his notes. And then it's just like seamlessly in the new hour. And then would have more new stuff at the end for that 10 minutes working on.
Yeah.
So it's really such an impressive skill to do.
It's really like you guys are writers. Like you have to really sit down and write these skits.
Very much so.
It's not just like you go. I guess I never really understood. I understood comedy, obviously, but like I think like years ago I used to think it was just like, oh, you go on a stage and you just like say some funny shit. But like you really have like skits that you follow.
Yeah, it really is a combination of writing and acting.
Right.
Because it's like the memorizing, the performing. And it should, good comedy feels like, oh, they're just saying that up there and it's so natural and this and that. And then when they do the peek behind the curtain of like, I'm going to work on some new, and you see things not work or a stumble, or like checking a notes, and you're like, oh, and it's like, yeah, this is
when you see like
it is kind of planned.
Quickly, I'm like,
oh. How do you quiet your brain though? You must be like running around writing on Post-its or on your phone. You must think of things constantly.
It's interesting because it's like if you're touring someone like a Nikki and it's like you got the hour down, you're kind of touring, then it really becomes more about the performance of it. And it's interesting of jokes I've done a lot. It almost becomes like an autopilot performance that I'll be like saying it and I'm actually in my head being like, what do I want to say next? What joke do I want to do next? And like there's like a disconnect in a way. Yeah. That it's a little shocking when I've had those moments and I'm like, oh, I'm like fully in an autopilot in a way, and I don't even realize it. That's like me when I drive.
I'm like, wow. Like, I'm like just like I'm not really paying attention. I'm just going.
But also you're thinking about two things at once.
Right. So she's doing her thing because it doesn't come easy, but it comes naturally, which is good. And then she's thinking about.
No, I'm comparing it to Pilates teaching again. I'm sorry, but it's so similar. It's like when you're teaching, you're thinking about the move they're doing, how to cue them into the next move, like figuring out how to do that seamlessly while also making sure you're on the count, on the beat. Like you're thinking of the current moment that's happening, but you also need to think about how are you foreshadowing to the next.
Yeah, it's like a muscle memory.
Yeah.
Or anyone who's been in like a high school play or whatever.
Not me, but
were you a theater kid?
Like somewhat. I wasn't, I was very a sports kid, so I couldn't, but I was also the kid that wanted to do everything. So when I was able to like be in the play, I like was also, because a lot of my good friends in high school were like the play kids, the theater kids. But the few times I was, it's funny that like, I would only have like 4 lines and I felt like it took me forever to memorize them. But then by the end of, halfway through you learning the play, you know everyone's line, you know every cue, you could recite, you're not even trying to memorize anything. And all of a sudden it's just in your blood. So it's that same thing that it's like the Pilates teaching just is in your blood where you're like, I'm not even thinking about this.
Well, you can see the memory I have.
Hers is
I'm old.
Her
there's no memory muscle
I think
anymore.
those index cards were from when I was in like middle school.
They are. I'm using them up.
Yeah. Thank God. I want to go back to when you like go on dates and if like the guys bring up being mentioned in your skits, do you find that being a comedian impacts your dating life in any way? Like, are you always on the go where you don't have the time, or is it always coming up where you're just like, all right, like I'm more than just my skits?
It's like it does and it doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, the only way it actually really bothers me is so many men have been like, yeah, a lot of people tell me I should do comedy, or like I've always wanted to do comedy.
Yeah, it's like,
and
okay.
I actually
you made me laugh for one moment in the past hour. Like there's no shot.
What's funny is that part actually doesn't bother me. Of like if I think they're funny, it's more they don't realize they're like belittling what I do,
right? Because you put a lot into it.
As if it's easy.
Yeah.
So I actually encourage them to do it. I just go, oh, yeah, you should do it.
You
then.
should do it.
Right.
I'm like, you should do it.
I'm
like, why not?
Why
haven't you done it?
On a new business call. We had a call with this guy, whatever. It was like 2 or 3 intro calls, which was like insane to begin with. And he kept, I do social media strategy and like a little bit of influencer marketing here and there. And he kept asking, it got to the point where everything he was asking was like, where he was like belittling what we do. And he was like, why would I hire you guys if I could just do that myself? To the point where it was an hour and 15 minutes long. And was supposed to be a 30-minute call. I go, do you also have 8 or 9 years in the influencer industry making connections? He goes, no, but I can just reach out to friends. I go, you do it because we have the connections and we're the expert here.
Yeah.
Like, I got so frustrated. So it's like, and every time,
very similar.
And every time he kept like saying, he was like, well, not to like dumb down what you guys do, but like before every sentence, like it's the same thing there.
Like,
where it's like, oh yeah, I could do that. It's like, then do it, try it out.
Or why haven't you done it by now?
Right.
Is actually the real question.
You wouldn't have reached out to us if you thought you could do it yourself.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that because it's like I hired someone to help me with like some social media clips.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't doing it.
Yeah, you can't be an expert at everything.
Right. And it's like, because I have enough editing experience, I could.
Right.
And it's more the time and the energy, and I hate doing it.
Right.
And it was a thing that I was like, I didn't want to spend the money on it.
Yes.
And I was like, but I just should because I hate it.
Oh,
And that's something that I'm trying to just be better at.
But it's also so important now because, like, I find a lot of the people who come on the podcast and stuff, we do it together. But I find most of these people on Instagram, mostly everybody. Like, so it's for you too. It's so important to have a good presence and.
No, Instagrams are the new website.
Yeah.
Like when I search for things and I find things which is probably bad to some degree, but like new restaurants. If I'm going to LA, I'll write like best restaurants in LA and Santa Monica, whatever it may be. Like I use that as a search engine, which maybe is like very millennial. Like,
no, well, you see the visuals of the food.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. But how do you really find your content? Is it just through like walking on the streets and like hearing people talk, through scrolling on TikTok, or is it just like things that are happening in your life, or all the above?
I mean, it's a combo of a lot of things, honestly. Because the hardest part is when you are in like a new writing rut, a new idea rut. So there's different things you can do. Or especially I think what's hard, now that we bring up like Instagram and stuff, a lot of comedians are playing the game of social media.
Yeah.
So I've had this talk with comedians that like, there are some comedians that basically are trying to write material for social media and for social media clips.
Got it.
Or now that's why you're seeing a lot of crowd work stuff, is because it's performing well on social media.
Love crowd work. Well, yeah, I'm just, like, such a classic comedian viewer.
But you like going to comedy shows live.
Yeah, I do.
So I'm curious, how do you feel if you go to a comedy show live and every comic on the lineup is just trying to do crowd work?
I don't like it then.
See?
Because they
That's
always
where it's a
focus on
problem.
like, what I don't like is like, I love when like the host, I don't call it the host. Love when the host initially picks on like one person in the front, but then what I don't like is when they continue to pick on the same person who's just in the front.
This is the problem with the social media clips.
Yeah,
is comedians are not in the room for the whole show, and so the same handful of people tend to get talked to,
right?
And they don't know,
right?
Because like now it's an extra job of almost the host, or should be of the host, which I don't think is fair,
right?
To basically be like, these people have been talked to. This is a couple, or these people aren't dating. These people are from France. This is because I was at a show, and if you sit and watch a whole show, this is what keeps happening,
right?
And it actually negates the in-person experience of the comedy show,
which is how,
and it's frustrating,
really, yeah,
right? Because it's like all these people in this room paid money,
right,
and are probably buying drinks that they have to buy,
totally
hit the minimum,
usually 2 drink minimum,
so a lot of like a 2 top table at a comedy show in New York City, LA, is spending at least $100.
Yeah.
So now if they've come and they are not seeing any comedy material, and they are only seeing comedians go up just to get social clips to appease the people scrolling their phones who aren't in the room.
True.
It's infuriating.
Yeah.
And it's also infuriating for people that like, say a newer comic that like doesn't get booked as much on the club and goes up and does do a set and is killing and crushing. But the people that are like regulars there and have like earned their stripes and get booked more there can go up and like fuck around.
Right.
It really like crushes them.
It's funny, you could, as you're saying that, like I went to a comedy show at Gotham.
Yeah. I love Gotham. I worked there.
I went there recently, and I was thinking about it as you were talking. The presence of some of the comedians versus others, like some were very like fuck around, didn't really care, like messing with the crowd, while others were way more like scripted. So like that gave me a flash of like, oh, they were probably like people who go a lot versus others. But it also made me think, how do you continue to create relevant content? Because I went to a comedy show once where I went to 2 comedy shows like pretty similar like times, like maybe like a month apart. And the same comedian was there, and she did the same exact bit.
Yeah, so like, then this is also what's hard. It's
how
like,
do you differentiate?
There's pressure on us when we perform at clubs or wherever to also do really well.
Right.
So the beauty of like crowd work is it is fresh, it can be new, it can be exciting, it gets the whole room like feeling like, ooh, we have a unique experience together when it's done well.
Right.
But like that's what my beef is I've been on lineups where I'm like, there can't be 8 of us all doing crowd work, or if you're gonna do it, sit in the room and watch what's going on
and make sure you're picking someone else.
Advice.
We can't, or have a little awareness when you're talking to someone, because that's happened to me even on accident, where like they interrupt or do something and I start talking to them or ask a question and I'm like, has somebody talked to you before?
Yeah.
And the whole room's like, yeah. I go, does everyone already know this answer to this question? And the whole room goes, yeah. And you go, oh, okay.
Let's move on.
I'm not going to bother you. And I just move on.
That's smart.
Like you have to have a little awareness that you like sense the room or something.
I didn't realize that other comedians like after one another aren't in the room the whole time. Did you know that? Like I thought they were all watching each other.
No.
This is a very like city-esque thing, but even not, because we get a spot time. The show starts at 8 and they'll be like, you're on at 8:30.
So common, like
so a lot of times comedians are not there like right at 8 or right at whatever. But
that's
we know
so funny. I would be there at like 6:30 just in case the train was
you
late.
think that, but then you start doing comedy forever.
Go to the bathroom. And,
but
peeps and poops before I go on stage.
But usually also because we're socializing in the green room or New York, you could be doing 4 shows in a night. Or even 2 shows in a night. So it's
Are
like,
you doing anything while you're here for this visit?
Yeah, I did a handful. Yeah, I did like Gotham. I was Friday. I was at the Cellar Sunday. But especially
I love the Cellar so much.
I mean, they're both great clubs. They're my 2 favorite clubs in the city. But some hosts are all crowd work.
Right.
And the thing is, I'm like, when you know the hosts and you know they're all crowd work, you're really taking a risk going up there being like, let me talk to the people right in the front. Like, they all probably got spoken to. You better have a unique question.
Yeah, the host like has already covered
and you
that.
wouldn't mind being in the front. I wouldn't want to be in the front.
Well, it's funny because when I used to love, and I still do, I love like going to a comedy show as like a date, but in like initial stages of dating too, I loved it as like the 3rd or 4th, maybe 3rd and 5th date, because I think it's it was a good sign for me to see the type of person I was with. Like if I was with a guy who like was so down to be in the front row, maybe not like front row, but like in a visible like sight of the comedian where you can get picked on. Like I liked that. Like I don't mind. I'd never mind like being like, I can make fun of myself, you can make fun of me all day long, I'll give you a fuck ton of content. Like I never mind that. So I'm always curious to see like if someone would be like, no, fuck that, or like, oh yeah, I'm down to get picked on. Like it was just a good telltale sign for me to see their personality.
Yeah, like what's their ego level?
Right. Yeah. Right. It's like who cares if a comedian's like picking on you? Like it's not serious. Like maybe they're spitting facts, but like it's not like it should have a backbone.
It's an interesting ego level. You're like, I don't want you to want to be a part of the show.
Right.
I also don't want you to take everything so personally and like hate any form of it. Yeah.
I always say if you're gonna take something so seriously, you can't go to a comedy show. Like it's just full of jokes, obviously.
Right. Do you use humor like when you go out on dates and stuff, like to break the ice? Or
I mean, I try to. It's such an interesting balance, because it's it's because I do what I do and I'm very outgoing and I like speak on stage. The number one thing I think is there's a lot of people that are like, you need to be with like the person that is very quiet and reserved and wants like none of that, has like no desire to be like the in front of the camera person. You want the behind the camera person. And it's an interesting balance because like that's the like if someone goes to set me up, they put me with like the quietest person. They're the very like, oh, you'll be good for him because you'll get him like out of his shell.
Yeah. But like you don't need a science.
But I don't know if you want that job.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing where I'm like, I get it, but I'm like but there has to be something when they come out of the shell.
Right.
So that's been like my frustration a bit in dating, because also usually that type of person is a little drawn to me where they're like, oh, okay, like
she's vibrant,
they're outgoing, right? But there's something more where it's like a good date is more like an improv. Right. It's not, I don't want to be performing on a date. I'm like, I don't like that. I'm like, I want to feel like there's a banter, there's a back and forth, there's a we're clicking, we're getting along.
Right, you're not just
type
like, doing
thing.
it for the bit the whole time.
Right, so on your profile you could put out of the shell.
Yeah. Like you're not my science project. Like have like a little bit of fun.
Be out of the shell a little.
Right, and it's like, and it feels mean to be like, oh, I didn't feel like they had personality, because I'm like, that's not what it is. I just didn't feel like our personalities meshed. Because also I'm like, I think people are assuming I'm on a date being like, I'm a performing comedian. I'm like, that's also not me. I'm like, I am much more of a I'm much more introverted and a homebody than people assume. I go, because I am out all the time, at work all the time, or like at a dinner party. I'm like, I don't need to be the center of attention.
Right,
I get enough attention at work.
Right.
So I'm good. I'm
chilling. Have eyes on you for your job.
I don't need to be funny 24/7. I'm like, I think that's something that shocks a lot of people about comedians is I'm like, yeah, we're not on all the time. That's annoying.
Yeah.
Who wants to be around that?
Right.
Like,
No, I could see that.
you know, that I'm
Yeah.
like,
What's your shtick though? Like, are you dirty? Are you like, do you do like a whole?
I wouldn't
dirty?
say I'm super dirty.
You
No,
don't-
I was like, I have a couple jokes that are dirty, but I'm like,
Like, are you
not
disgusting?
really. Yeah, I feel like I like a little bit more clever and like a toed the line kind of thing is what
my
I'd say.
favorite thing in a comedy skit is when like the comedian says a joke in the beginning and then somehow it gets brought back with like a totally different topic at the
Callback.
end.
Yeah.
Callback, sure. Like that's what it's called, I guess. Oh, so good. I'm gonna go to a comedy show soon. I love it.
I've gone to 2 recently.
Oh, thanks for the invite.
Yeah, like I wouldn't say I'm like a Nikki Glaser line of dirty. I'm trying
yeah.
to
Oh,
think.
She's
She did a
dirty.
lot about women, and I mean, my husband liked it when I was with another couple. We liked it more. The women liked it more. It was very relatable to women versus the men.
Oh yeah, did you try
But
to adhere
her
to a certain
best thing
gender?
was the Tom Brady roast.
Oh.
And I was
She
I
ripped
was
that.
crying.
She's been fantastic on roasts for like years, but I feel like that her
That's
Tom Brady one is the one that has really put her like
That's where I really
launched
discovered
into
her.
spotlight.
Yep. And
Yeah.
then she had 2 comedians the night I was there before her. One was great, one was fine. But that's like a great way to get out there too. I mean, if you
Oh, yeah.
sign under her.
Crazy. Are there any topics in your skits that you is it called skits? Am I like saying the right word?
we say bits more so.
Bits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bits.
Bits. Are there any topics in your bits? Sounds like I'm talking about
Your
like, your
bits.
boobs.
Your
Your bits
bits.
that you don't discuss. Anything you avoid.
No, I'd say the thing that's hard is I do a show like in my hometown. Once a year or occasionally I do like maybe like fundraiser type shows.
Okay.
In Jersey?
I grew up in Binghamton, upstate
Binghamton,
New York,
right,
which is
okay.
about 3 hours from here. And so when I lived in the city for 10 years, I started, it was kind of on a whim that I did one. And then that kind of like had this like little business start to grow because it is a great fundraiser idea. It's like a comedy show.
Yeah.
Especially for comedians where it's like the fundraiser committee, your job is just to sell the tickets, where I would get just a couple comedians from New York. I had a car. I'd just drive us up. We'd do a show. We'd have a great show. It's like we make a little money. The committee makes even more money. Everybody's happy. And it's like you just have to go to a show because
Yeah.
I'm from a small town. There's no comedy up there. There's not too much to do.
No one's laughing.
Yeah. No, well, you know,
They
there's
need
no
some
comedy
laughs.
club is more what I mean.
Yeah,
you know,
we
it's
know.
a small town. It's like, you know, because the usual fundraisers would be like, we're doing a pasta dinner and this and that.
A
And it's
bingo
like,
night.
you know, and it's like the most they would ever make usually is like $500.
Right.
So, you know, you get 200 people in a space and even doing tickets for like $20, $25, they could make like a couple grand, right? And we'd find like a, you know, place to do like a banquet hall, a dining hall, whatever. So I started running like this little business. And my first 5 years of comedy, I actually was clean. Like I would talk about dating, but I wouldn't, maybe I would swear a little bit, but I wouldn't do anything like sexual. But also I started comedy at 22.
Yeah.
So I also had this mindset of like, I'd go to these open mics and stuff. I'd be like the youngest person there.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, well, even if I talk about sex, like what the fuck do I know compared to a bunch of 30-year-olds in the room? I
Yeah.
felt like everyone would look at me like, what do you know?
Right.
You know how to fuck?
just lost
You're
your
22. You know what I mean? Like, what do you, this girl just, you know, left college. Like,
Well, you
you
could have
know?
started early.
right? Yeah, right?
I'm
like,
a slut, actually.
you know, but also because I was performing these big shows in front of like my whole family would come.
Right, yeah.
And it was a fundraiser show that I felt this like,
You have to be like a
Yeah.
little
I don't
buttoned
know.
up.
And it was my whole hometown. Everyone knew me. It's like I'd have all teachers there.
Yeah.
So it would be this thing like if I was working on these jokes in the city, then I'd go to this big show and I'd be like, oh, I can't
You can't
I
talk
can't do
about that.
these in front of my
Yeah.
old band teacher or whoever. You know, like I was like,
He doesn't need
yeah,
to
it's a
know
little
when I gave a
awkward.
blowjob.
Yeah, literally.
Right, like my grandma's here, you know. And so I did a joke that had like an alluding to sex that I didn't think was bad because I was like, oh, I'm not really saying anything.
Yeah.
And my parents were like very upset.
Really?
And I was like, really? And I was 27. So I remember, all right.
It's like, yeah, like I have sex.
Yeah, I was like, you know, I have had sex
Yeah.
before, you know, but I was even being like, the joke wasn't bad. I didn't say anything.
Do you remember what it was?
The premise of the joke was me actually saying, I don't think I'm that great at sex. I don't think it's the best thing I have to offer a relationship. And then I said, I'm not prude. Like, I'll blow you, but I'm not going to blow your mind. And it crushed. It was a great joke. It crushed. And
I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie, everybody.
it was a nice joke.
So good.
Right, it was
That's
very
good.
funny. And it crushed. No one else cared, but my
Yeah.
parents cared.
Okay, grandma didn't care.
And-
And your band teacher was like, "Fuck
Yeah,
yeah."
I don't know. It's a bunch of married people up there.
Yeah.
Which, funny, that's a topic. I'm like, married people have sex. They get it. They know what's going on.
Zach mom was mad. You're like, wait, I hate to break it to you, but like I'm not a virgin.
Yeah, I was like, I am 27.
Yeah.
But what's more funny is I would watch my parents laugh at all the other comedians making sex jokes.
Right.
So it's a little like, this is a little hypocritical.
Baby girl, I guess.
You know?
Right. They don't want to hear their daughter doing
Right.
it, but
So, you know, they were just very like, if you have any jokes that are about, just don't do it here.
right.
And I was like, all right, fine,
You're
fair.
like, that's literally my whole bit, but fine.
Yeah, then I was like, all right. So the thing is, I do have jokes about sex and sexual things, and I'm like, I have some that are filthy.
Yeah.
Because like, look, you'll work a crowd one, and then you'll work one crowd that's like a rowdy, drunk crowd, and
Yeah.
it makes you realize like, oh, I do need to have some
Right.
something to
keep
give
it
these
going,
people
yeah.
sometimes.
Can you pivot like in between your bits? Like if you're like
Your
if
bits?
I feel like I'm talking about
You
like,
can,
literally your
yeah.
I don't
vagina.
know what it
like,
is. I like your bits.
No,
It's-
it's like a way to
Like
say like
lady bits.
vagina or boobs. Like
Your
your
jokes, your jokes, your bits.
Your jokes.
your bits.
You can, yeah, because I've had that almost the opposite of like you start a joke and you're like, oh shit, this joke's filthy, and then
And then they're like a lame
you're at a
crowd.
thing and you're like, oh no, this crowd's like too tight.
Yeah.
Where you almost like start it and there's like a first half to it and
It's
they're like
crazy
too
how-
tense.
Yeah, it's crazy how like
Yeah.
a crowd could be so in sync. You know what I mean? Like how you know, like okay, they're not like vibing with the filthy jokes right now. Like, and you have to pivot.
You have to read the
midway.
room.
You have to read the room, right?
Yeah. Well, like I mean, a great line is literally being like, oh, is this a town that like everybody goes to church together
Yeah.
like tomorrow morning, and that usually crushes, and because you're usually right.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, it's a town everybody knows each other, and
Right.
maybe it's more religious or something, and they're like, yeah, a little bit. They laugh, and you're like, oh, okay. And
So
that is
good.
literally like my hometown.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot of Catholics, everybody knows each other, like.
Right. It's not normal to be talking about in
Yeah.
a sexy.
So it's like,
thing.
no, nothing for me is
Yeah.
like off limits
Right.
in that way, but it's more, it's a bit of a struggle that like, I think part of the reason I am on the cleaner side is there is this part of me that like, I don't want to disappoint like my family
Yeah.
and my parents in that way,
Yeah.
even though it's like, yeah, I am, like now I'm 34. I'm
I was
like,
going to say,
I
at
am
this
an
point,
adult.
if you weren't having sex, there would be a problem.
Yeah. But there's
Yeah, I would
something.
literally go on the street with you right now and be like, have sex with her.
Yeah, but there's almost something like my mom almost is like, well, who are you talking about blowing? Have I met him? Like, what is like, you know what I mean? There's almost this
Have
like,
you met my mom?
yeah,
At
there's
least she's
almost
open to the conversation.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is like getting somewhere.
there's almost this like, well, if it was my husband, I oddly think they would be okay with the joke.
Right.
There's kind of this like Italian family Catholicness, like there's kind of this thing that's like, I think if I suddenly was married and I was telling sex jokes on stage, then it's okay because
And
it's
it's
about
okay.
sex with my husband, and it's like suddenly it's not
It's
as
okay.
whorish.
Right.
'Cause
Okay,
it's
now
like,
you're not
oh, it's a
whore
married
'cause you're
woman.
you're
They're a little
married.
old fashioned.
Yeah, they're a little old fashioned
Which
in
is
that
fine.
way. Which, you know, I still think my dad would still have a little bit of a like, you know, oh, my daughter has sex, you know.
Oh my god, that's so crazy.
So when you're doing your show,
Mm-hmm.
if you see somebody cute, like, do you like start focusing on them? Like if there's like some handsome cute boy in
Good
the
cue,
front?
mom. Good cue.
Oh, I have never done this, but it's not that I'm opposed.
Yeah.
I think I'm just a little too in the zone
And
sometimes.
can
Yeah,
you
true.
even see the audience? Like, 'cause you have the lights on you. Could you really?
Yeah, it like
even
depends
see
on the
anyone?
room too, honestly. Because some rooms, like Gotham, has good lighting in the cellar, where it's like I
feel
could.
like Cellar has better.
see.
Like Gotham only has lights in the front. I was in
The
the,
front,
back at Gotham
chunk.
and like
Yeah.
I feel like I was like in a dungeon in the back.
But like you said, it usually is a date night thing.
yeah.
This is actually a difference between New York and LA. New York will often have tables of women that come together
yes.
at shows, or it's usually dates.
Yes.
It's rare that you see a group of guys. LA, though, it will often have groups of guys that come to comedy shows, more so than
Interesting.
groups of women. It's
Interesting.
very
When
interesting.
I went recently, there was a huge group of guys in the front, and they were the crowd play the whole entire
At
time.
Gotham?
Yeah, because this guy was
It
wearing
happens
a
at Gotham
fugly
more than the
shirt,
Cellar, yeah.
and the whole bit was just the most like. I think he was asking for it. Like I think they like I don't know how they knew they were gonna get put the first table in
Yeah.
front of the stage at Gotham. And he was wearing the fuggliest fucking shirt with like 15,000 colors and patterns. Like
That's interesting.
literally handing, like making fun
some
of
material.
and everyone was making
Yeah.
fun of him.
It's interesting. If I see a group of guys, they're usually like 24 though, 25.
Yeah.
They're young in
Yeah,
New York.
young.
Yeah,
But
one
LA,
guy was
I
wearing a
just
finance vest. He was like, "You're in fucking finance." Like
yeah.
it was
Right.
like they were handing him content.
Right. That's pretty funny.
But LA, it's shocking of like, because we're usually by the doors when the show ends, the
Yeah.
comics, and I'll see like piles and piles of men in LA.
It's so
And it's
interesting.
very interesting.
Yeah.
Because
What's
LA
the-
comics have pointed that out to me when they come to New York. They're like, whoa, there's like a lot of girls at shows. And I was like, really?
What's the
Yeah.
matter? Men don't like to laugh in New York?
No, she's saying men
Just
are.
in terms of
No.
like
Oh,
groups.
oh, you're right. In LA.
Yeah, in
I
LA.
guess there's just so many bar options. Men are just drinking.
Yeah.
But you can drink at a comedy show.
Honestly, yeah, it is more. New York is more of a drinking town than LA is.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are like drinking your matcha and like injecting
No,
yourself
LA,
with
it's hard to get people to like go out at night, honestly.
Well,
it's not a night
so
town.
far from each other.
It's not even that. I don't know what
It's
it
not.
is.
I don't know shit
It's
about
not
LA.
even
What's
that.
easy? Which place is easier to date?
For me, it was New York.
Okay.
Just
Why?
in terms of what I get. I don't know. I get more dates.
Yeah.
I don't know. Many reasons.
Are you
LA,
on the apps?
Yeah, I've tried the apps very much in both cities. I don't know. I'd have LA's more flaky. They're worse at the follow through. It's also just not a. It's not a like after work town is really the number one thing I've discovered from LA.
Right.
It's not a. It's a people want to meet midday for a coffee or a lunch, even
Midday?
even on like a friendship level. I'm not even talking just dating.
Right.
But it's a.
Don't people work like during the day?
That's the thing about LA.
Yeah,
It is a
midday?
town. No,
Like-
it is a town that you are like, what the fuck do people do here for a living? And it is a very
Yeah, I've heard that.
odd, weird in terms of
and everyone
industry
lives
and work.
well, probably too. But they're like having coffee during the day.
Well, that's what makes it questionable. It is a very like, what do people do here?
Right.
Because I'll be like, I will be busy at 3 p.m.
But it's like, why are you?
and I'm a comedian. So what's going on?
Right. That's like me. Like I work for myself. So if I like randomly go to the gym at like 2 p.m. in New York, which is like rare, I'm like, I don't know why I'm here, but why the fuck are you guys here?
Oh, that's LA to it too.
Like you
Yeah.
guys shouldn't be here. You should be in an office. I know why I'm here.
You remember when you first started working for yourself? She used to literally sit at her desk for like 10 hours.
I still do that sometimes.
Because she felt weird, like not working.
It's harder to
I'm
set
like,
up your
if
own
you
hours.
have like, you work for yourself. So if you have a free hour and you love to work out, go.
Newsflash.
Yeah.
I'm 3 years into doing things on my own. I still do that.
Yeah.
I
No, it's
still
hard.
have a hard time. Today I went on a walk to go pick up your Joe and the Juice sandwich. Obsessed.
Thank you. You ever have one?
I had a, and
Oh,
then
they're
I,
good.
I took
So
a little
good.
walk around the block then, trying to hit 10K steps, whatever, healthy girl. And I was having a hard time, truly.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It was like, what was it, 1 p.m.?
Yeah. That's why I let you park my car so you could get extra steps in.
Blessed to have you. Do you ever worry that your career or any of like your jokes or bits will impact dating? I know we talked about it a little before, but do you ever worry that like you're worried about talking about like filthy, sexy things for your family, but do you do you think it like that kind of resonates in the dating scene too?
It's like yes and no.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I've actually experimented with not having my job listed on my profile. And it is more fascinating to me how much men do not ask what I do for a living.
Crazy.
Yeah, I've fully gone on dates where they have no idea that I'm a comedian at all. And don't
What?
ask.
They don't ask what you do.
Don't ask. Don't
do you-
ask whatsoever.
like,
I
What are
think
you talking
I
about?
think they're focused on your bits though, because
I-
like, what are they talking about?
Well, that's the thing that's very interesting. They do not ask me about work or job at all. And I have a friend who is a lawyer, and she was thinking that also was like affecting maybe men not wanting to date her. So we both took our jobs off, and we were like, let's see how many men actually ask what we do for a living.
No one did.
It was shocking how many men just don't ask.
Do you
don't
find
care.
that in the same in LA and New York?
Yeah. Either way.
I think that's such an ick though. What are they talking about themselves? I'm sure you ask, what do you do and whatever.
Yeah, it's
and
like
they-
an easy conversation.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? Oh, what do you do?
Yeah. The only time they would ask is if while making the plans, I would say like, oh, I have a show. Or if it was like, what did you do this past weekend? I was like, oh,
Oh,
had a
yeah.
show or went to a show or, da-da-da.
What is wrong with you, men? It's like simple dating 101. Just ask what they do in the first 2
Right.
minutes and then call it a day.
I can't believe you guys are shocked at this because I'm like,
I'm
men don't really rank like what a woman does for a living as like a high.
not a
thing
high thing,
on,
but it's still
you know.
important. It's such a big part of your life and your world. Like,
I
Yeah,
actually
I
don't
know.
think I've ever been on a date where they didn't ask what I did.
That's shocking to me. So I'm
I
like,
think
I've
that's
had
it.
so many where they don't care.
No, that's why I'm so surprised. Like, I'm sure it goes both ways, but like in my eyes, like when you're going on a first date, it's like you're breaking the ice, and the simple questions are like, where are you from? Do you have siblings? What do you do for work?
Yeah.
Done. Like, easy peasy, get those out of the way, and then you see the banter flow. But I also think something with like your career, it's such a great conversation starter. Like, you have such a
mean, you would
fun,
think
unique
so.
career. Right.
Yeah.
Idiots.
Because that's the other thing with comedy, even when somebody's really into comedy and they love comedy, I don't love talking about it a lot on
Right.
a date. Even like when they're like, oh, this and that. Like I try to maybe keep it at most of just like, oh, what comedians do you like and this and that.
Yeah.
Like, even though I'm like, I love that you like this and
give
you're
a fuck
into it
that,
and this
yeah.
and that. I do hate sitting there and it's the constant questions about it. I'm like,
well, you don't want to put on a show. Like
it's not even that.
Like,
it's just
you're like going on and on.
It's just it's something that I'm like, I love that you do think this is cool and like this and that, but it is also the thing that I'm like, I am tired of talking about that. Like I'm like, oh, let's like what do we have in common? Yeah, other stuff.
Have you ever had someone you were on a date with come to a show?
I often don't let them come for a while. Very rarely. Kind of on a whim. One time I did recently, actually. That I was like, I don't know, this guy seems kind of fun and cool because I went on the date right before I had a show, and it was right at Gotham, and I was like, you seem like you'll be all right. That I was like, I'll let you come and just kind of sit in the back, and I went out to perform. Yeah, well, that like where the comedians
sweating my bits off. Right, really.
Have you ever dated a comedian?
Good question.
Yeah, no, everybody has. Yeah,
what?
It's very incestuous. The comedy world is very incestuous. Yeah, it never like went very far, or, like amounted to anything. But
isn't there one like wickedly hot comedian? What's his
name? The Matt Rife one that everybody likes. Oh, that's wow. Okay. I was like,
yes, he's so handsome.
I guess you two agree.
Yeah, he's really handsome. That's all I have to say on that.
And then I follow another guy now. He does singing though, but he's dirty. Morgan Jade.
With the auto-tune? Yeah. He's very big right now.
Yeah,
too.
But
I think he was funny.
I think he's funny, but it's all the same shtick, but it's all because of Instagram. Yeah. Like his little bits that he puts out there are funny, and he really is now like blowing up and going all over the place.
Yeah.
Social media.
It's crazy. Okay, we have to wrap, which is crazy.
Oh, that is crazy. I feel like we didn't even...
But yeah, I'm like, I feel like you've asked me the dating comedians. I'm like, I'm sure there's people that don't want to date me just because I do comedy, but it's hard for me to answer of like,
their loss.
Has it been a reason?
Oh, we were talking about now because we both know that guy, Matt, whatever, because he's so handsome. But are there any
I will
other
say
cute,
this, I'm
funny
like, comedy
comedians?
for women as a like wanting people to date you is definitely more of a disadvantage for women than it is for men. For like men that like do comedy and this and that, like it's crazy to see. Oh yeah, that it's like men that won't even have fame from it, or in terms of like, because we do shows with men, and it's like wild to see how much they get approached by women or DMs from women, like this and that, and like the women on the show, it's like we like rarely ever get a DM or like approach or like this and that.
That's so rude.
Do you think because when you're up there, you're so confident and...
I mean, people...
I don't know. It could be a million things. Yeah. I mean, I think the number one thing is people being like, I don't want you to talk about me on stage, and like fear you're going to like make fun of them all the time.
Right.
Yeah,
even though it's like, you just saw what I do. It's not
like
specific.
Poking fun at anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
And people have to get over themselves and laugh a little, like lighten up.
So inspirational. No, to laugh a little.
It's true though.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. People must be intimidated or nervous that you'll, use some material. But who cares?
Yeah.
Get thicker skin.
I don't know. I mean, or also when people say that, a lot of times I'm like, I won't talk about you.
Yeah,
or especially when I had the dating pod, people are like, are you going to? And I was like, I won't talk about you. If you don't want me to talk about you, I won't. Like,
Exhibit A. Us.
Right.
I mean,
we don't talk about anyone who doesn't know what we talked about. And if we do, we cut it out. Anyway, what's next for you in your career, dating, all those things that we talked about? And then we sadly have to wrap, which is crazy.
And next time you're in New York, I want to see you. So you got to let us know.
Oh, yeah. We'd love to have you guys come to the show.
Fun.
Yeah, I usually could get you tickets. So.
Love.
Okay.
At least in Gotham, I definitely can. Cellar's hard. They just sell out so quick.
Which location at Cellar do you go to? Because there's like the black fat pussycat thing.
all of them.
All of
I
them?
don't know. Wherever you get booked. There's 4 rooms. They're opening a 5th room.
Really?
Yeah, and that old
there's
McDonald's.
4? No, there's Comedy Cellar, Black Fat Pussy thing. It's called
Village Underground.
Village Underground.
The Fat Black has 2 rooms.
Fat Black.
Yeah.
Wait, fat black pussy?
Pussycat.
Cat.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Come to the Fat Black Pussy.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what's next in terms of dating. Hopefully good things.
Yeah.
I'm going to be shooting a comedy special. I don't have the official date, but that's my next like comedy goal. So I'm excited for that.
And where will it be? Where will for television, for Netflix?
Probably just for YouTube.
Okay.
I mean, I'd love to sell it to something, but most likely it will be going on YouTube.
No, it's happening. We're manifesting.
Yeah, we're going to manifest everything for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
So nice meeting you.
Can people find you on social media?
I'm at
social media.
I think all my social media is at Sperica, SPERICAA, or look me up, Erica Spera, Erica with a C, SPERA. You'll find all my stuff. And if you like pod, check out my pod, 2 Stand Up Gals, which is a fun time.
And go to your shows in person.
Yes.
Love.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Like, subscribe, all those good things, and we'll see you next week.